Hey, this is Patrick from Frontly. I'm going to show you how we can build a simple products page and then product listing in a matter of minutes using Frontly with data from a third-party API server. First, I'm going to hit New Page. I'm going to call this page My Products, and then I'm going to set the route on the General tab to My Products. And I will make the header visible, and then I'll get into creating the content. So the first thing I'm going to do is set up a page load action, which can pull our data from the API server. So I'm going to select HTTP request, and then I'm going to use my demo product endpoint here. So I'm going to do /demo products read. That's just the endpoint on our demo API, but you would be using your own API in this case. Our API configuration is Frontly, and then I'll hit fetch remote data. As you can see, if I click on this preview, I can see there's some raw product data that came in, and then I'm going to name this products. So if I go back to the content tab, now I can start adding sections. So first I will add a header, and I'll just call it My Products. And then I'll go back to the sections and I'll add one more. This is going to be called, this is going to be a grid. So I will select a source for the grid, and I will select the HTTP request products data that I pulled in from my API. I can select the products array right here to tell the system what data we're using, and then I can start mapping these fields. So I select the primary text field and I'll map it to the title, and I'll map the secondary text field to the price, map the description to the description. Yeah, okay, that's already done. And then I will, last but not least, give it an image. So these are my sample products, and I can adjust things like the section height, or I can set it to auto height. It'll just adjust to the full height of all these products. And if I want to get a little deeper, for example, with one of these fields, like the secondary text, I can click Edit, and now I can adjust stuff like the font size. So maybe I'll make this 18. I can make the color red, and I could make the font weight bold, and I could even make it a price. Just adds a little, adds formatting. So I'll leave it at that for now, and then actually I'll give this grid a little bit of padding. So set that like that. There we go, just a little bit better spacing. So we have a functional page here. If I hit preview, you can see that we go to this page and it works, and it's responsive, so that's all great. But we haven't done anything with the product, so when I click on it, there's nothing happening. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back here, and I'm going to select the Actions tab. We have an item click action. So we can set up a custom action for when we click on this product. We can trigger a little pop-up notification, or we could add the item to a cart, or create a cookie, or do some other stuff. But we're going to navigate to a page, and we're going to set a new page here, which is going to be called /myproduct. And then we want a product ID to be in here. So it would be something like 7 or 2 or whatever. But in this case, we can actually tell it to use the dynamic data from each item. So we'll select grid item, and then I can select the ID in grid item. So you can see we have this dynamic variable here in the URL. So when I hit save, now what's going to happen is if I reload this page, we'll actually on click navigate to the individual product page. However, we didn't create that page yet, so I'm going to go back one more step first. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to create a new page that's called My Product. and I will do the same thing. I'll set the route to my product slash, and then there's this little syntax here where you type in a colon, and then you can type in some character or a string. In this case, I'm just going to type in ID. I could type in product ID. I guess that would be fine. Whatever I want to use as a variable name. And I'll show the header on this page as well. And then we'll do the same thing. So we'll go back, we'll add an HTTP request. We'll set it to my demo products endpoint. But for this endpoint, if I add an ID dynamically, then we'll actually fetch that specific product, just like you would in a normal REST API type situation. So I'll add my Frontly API config, and then what I can do here is I can inject what we call a route parameter. So if I click on this, you can see product ID. I typed that in the last step, and now it's available here as a dynamic variable. And for the purposes of just loading some sample data while we're actually building this page, I have a mock param that I can type in, which will just, you'll see what happens in the next step. So I'll hit save, and then when I hit fetch data, because I typed in ID number 3 here, when I hit fetch data, it's actually going to fetch product ID number 3 from my server. It just makes it a little easier for me because now I can use that data while I'm building this page. I'll name this product data, and then I'll go back to my content. So I'll add a section, I'll add a header, and then I'll give this a label that will be called product details. And then I'll go back and add one more section, and this is going to be a product listing section. So you can see this is already set up for a pretty typical product listing type arrangement. And now I can start mapping in my actual real data. So when I click on a field, we have the option to insert dynamic data, which can come right from our API endpoint that we've pulled data in from. So I select product data, and now I can just navigate through. In this case, I want the title field. You can see over here on the right side, it's changing as I change this. So I'll hit save, and then I'll do the same thing. So I will map for the description, and yeah, price and all the normal fields. So what we have now, oh, and I'll even add a little $sign there. So we can also add the product variants. Right now there's no options because I haven't mapped them in. So I'll select source, HTTP request, product data, and then I can select my variants array. And so that will allow our system to let you map the label, which in this case, you can see it just popped up there based on what I'm selecting here. And then there's the value as well. So the value I'm going to just set as the variant ID because that's what I want to use here. And then one final step here would be setting the image URL, which is actually in this image collection module. So this handles the ability to have multiple images. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the source, and I'm going to make it, once again, HTTP request, select my data, and instead of just selecting this one image field, I can actually select the images array. And so when I select this, we can see it actually populates not just the primary image, but secondary images dynamically. And so if I hit save, now we'll go back to our products page that I told you I would come back to. So we've now got this products page. It's responsive, and if I actually hit one of these items, we're going to navigate to that specific, look, leather backpack. Boom. If I go back, we'll go to the Nike running shoes. Same thing. Now, these secondary images, we've just hard-coded them as additional images on our server. So it actually would be showing the correct images, but we just don't have secondary images for all of these test products. But in real time, this is updating the price, the title, And if you want, you can go to the next step where you can set this to add an item to the cart, and you can add more dynamic layers as you need to. So that's a demo of how we can build two product pages linked together in just a few minutes with Frontly and with your API server.